Melatonin confronted by Win the Space with an 8th left to go. 3 lengths away, then comes Opportunity finishing strongly. Melatonin's the leader. He's pulling away close to home. Dave Hoffman's has transformed this gelding into a star stayer. Melatonin wins from Win the Space.
Bobby Shoemaker, Andrew Calvano. Tournament talk on the Tournament Edge for Friday, July 4th. Andrew and I have 4 races as always, 2 at Churchill Downs this week, 2 more at beautiful Belmont Park. And Andrew, let's start things off at Churchill Downs. It's race 9. It's a $55,000 allowance, going 2 turns on the turf for fillies and mares, 3-year-olds and up. It's a field of 12. And Walking the Kitten is the morning line favorite. It's a 7-horse, and she's 3-1. I guess I don't have a problem with this horse being the favorite, considering it's Florent Giroux and Mike Maker, who makes a living at Churchill Downs. But I certainly feel like this horse is very beatable, and from a tournament play perspective, I think definitely a play against.
I agree with you, Bob. And this horse is 114 lifetime, but like you said, this horse coming with Mike Maker and Florent Giroux definitely be respected. The Gramsci barn as well, another reason why this horse is going to be 3-1. But I think this horse is beatable, although he's kind of been keeping the same company that we're going to see today. With that being said, I look to a horse immediately to his inside, and that's number 6, Smart Shopping. Smart Shopping 6-1 for Brendan Walsh and Robbie Alvarado. Was a beaten favorite last out in the Suncoast Stakes at Tampa. The winner of that race, Weep No More, was that big long shot that came to win the Ashland and defeat horses that would go on to the Kentucky Oaks. And I'm a fan of Walsh on the turf, and this horse should perfectly sit right off the pace and show a powerful late kick. And I'm looking into this filly. She's trying out for turf for the first time. A lot of turf pedigree on the dam side, not so much the sire side, but this one's also a half. The Power Broker was a multiple graded stakes winner. So I know in the family tree here there's a history of winning. I'm just hoping she takes to the turf like her dam side suggests she will. And hopefully with the minimal pace setting up, she sits right off it and she blasts by at the top of the stretch.
Andrew, your thoughts on the pace, specifically the 4-horse Havana Dream, 3rd off the layoff for Mark Casse, showed exemplary speed last time out on May 30th, winning that race, albeit against Maiden, still a very fast race. Going a mile. She stretches out to a mile and 16th today. Clearly the speed in here could be dangerous to a certain extent if they let her walk up front early, but do you think the 4 is going to have company?
I think the 4 is going to have company, definitely, and I know Mark Casse has been a little cold as of late, especially at Gulfstream in New York. I don't follow the Churchill circuit so much, but it just looks like he's having a cold barn elsewhere, but Crooked Sticks, that's number 9. He's going to be out on the front end as well, 2nd off the layoff. He's going to show some early speed. I think there's a couple like big long shots that are going to show some speed and may just bother those 2 up front. But I think if we're looking out to speed contenders, that's going to be number 4 and number 9.
There's no doubt that your pick has class, especially just off that last race, as you mentioned. I think the question will be, just because the pedigree says she takes to the turf, it doesn't mean she will. If she does, I think she's a major player. As I mentioned to you earlier, I'm not a big fan of the 7. I understand why the 7 is going to get bet, and I think the 2 is going to get bet as well, which is ready for Shante, something of that nature. Again, another one of those names that we can't pronounce. It's a Julian Leparoux rider. 2 starts back. If that horse goes back to that effort, that horse is probably going to win this race. I can't explain what happened on June 9th, went off 4-1. I didn't see anything wrong with the ride that Rocco gave her that day. She just did not respond. If she bounces back to the May 14th effort, I think she's going to be a handful. But again, do you want that short of a price on a horse that its last 3 starts hasn't shown a whole lot of consistency? He's been very up and down, to say the least. Therefore, I looked for a horse that I thought would provide value, and I'm hoping will stay at this 10-1 morning line, and that's Moonlight Sky, the 11 horse. Mark Casse as well, ridden by Brian Hernandez, who's had a very solid meet, Andrew, at Churchill Downs. I have a lot of respect for Hernandez, turf and dirt at Churchill Downs. Winning at 16% for the year, I think that's probably much higher at Churchill Downs, specifically this spring and summer meet. Second off the layoff, if you go back to the May 14th effort, broke awkwardly and was bothered early. I think that was more than just bothered early, was kind of cut off and had to veer to another path. I thought come on decently. You can't see that visually, but if you look at Timeform US and their point scoring system, the horse did come on quite well considering the layoff and the trouble early. Again, I like Hernandez. Casse is cold, but he's still winning at 17% for the year, 26% at Churchill Downs out of 91 starts. I expect a better effort second off the layoff. I think this horse is going to get pace to run into. As you mentioned, the 9 and the 4 I think are going to set it up for something from off the pace. And I think the 11 could set closer than what he did last time out. And if that's the case, I expect an improvement. I think this horse has a chance to go off at 8-1. If so, I'm going to bet the horse to win, and certainly he's going to be my tournament selection.
And this is a horse I looked at myself, Bob. This owner-trainer team often teams up. This is a big purchase, a Keeneland September one. The horse's 2 lone turf starts, although finishing out of the money both times, are actually, if you watch the replay, very covered up and are better on video than they do look on paper. So good job for pointing that out, Bob. And like you said, Brian Hernandez, I fall on him in another race here at Churchill. Like you said, he's an excellent rider. The problem I had with this was a tough draw. I thought he wanted to be a little closer to it. Like you said, the awkward start the last time out. I think he wanted to be a little closer. So we'll see. But nonetheless, Moonlight Sky is a horse to respect in this field.
It's a great point that you bring up, Andrew. And have you noticed there have been occasions in the past with other horses at different racetracks where something happens that they don't plan early in a race, and a horse performs well in a running style in which he really hasn't shown in the past, and the trainer and the jockey learn a little bit more about that horse and maybe some more versatility than they thought that horse had, and sometimes that just happens by accident?
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, and you see it so often, but the key to that is when you take note of that, and then from a handicapping perspective, when you sit down, you take the time to watch the replays, and you really see the versatility a horse holds. And that's how you make big profits, especially, Bobby, as evidence here, you found a 10-1 shot that can do that. Yeah. So that's the big thing handicappers got to realize, put the time in, and the replays can really help you out.
I completely agree, Andrew. You do your homework, and more times than not, you're going to be paid off. So you're on the 6-horse Smart Shopping at 6-1, turf to dirt. Got a ton of class from that February 15th effort at Tampa Bay. And I'm on the 11-horse Moonlight Sky at 10-1. Barring a bad trip, I think he'll be a player. Sticking at Churchill Downs, we'll go to race 11 on the card. It's a $22,000 starter allowance, 7 furlongs on the dirt for 4-year-olds and up. It's a field of 11, and I believe it's Payton, the 7-horse, is your 9-5 morning line favorite. Andrew, look, this horse is the horse to beat. I get why the horse is the favorite. I don't think you're going to sniff 9-5 morning line, and here's something else that I want to say about this horse. I think he's going to come from last or close to last. So you're talking short-priced horse and not the best $22,000 starter allowance we've ever seen. He's probably going to have to go wide and overcome some type of tough trip. If you take this horse, I understand it. But for me and the odds and his running style, win or not, I'm not playing him.
Like you said, Bob, this horse, you can understand why he's a favorite because we have Tom Amos here and Channing Hill, 2 of the best guys at Churchill Downs. But the horse is going to have it up against him today, and I'm not willing to take a short price because I can honestly see this horse going off closer to even money, and maybe at the worst 4-5. I've definitely seen cases where that happens, especially with this barn. The horse has won 6 times at Churchill Downs, so there's a lot of factors pointing to the fact why he will take money, but I just think he's so up against it today. I think although this isn't the greatest of fields, it's a really a cheap field, and anybody can really win. I'm not willing to take a horse, at such odds in a field like that. With that being said, I went to the horse right outside. That's Conde Stable. Based on his last performance, I have to give this one the nod. Rallied around horses, got cut off, squeezed, rallied up to 2, and came up here. But I focused in on the gallop out, and this one really did so like a champ. And that's why I think this 7-furlong sprint really suited him perfectly. Now he's ran at cheaper courses in the past. but he's really taken the Churchill course real nice. Tactical speed comes along with this horse, and have him sitting right off. And we talked about Brian Hernandez last race. I'm also a huge fan of Brian Hernandez. So 8-1, that's fine with me for a horse that's yet to finish out of the money at Churchill Downs. Now, I know he's racing against cheaper, but, I mean, his running style should really set up perfectly here. And if Brian Hernandez has horse and, the distance will better suit this horse, I'm sure they can find themselves in the money and probably win this race.
I took a long, hard look at the 8 horse, and I certainly respect everything that you said. I always ask you about pace, just for the viewers. Sometimes I know what you're going to say, and just setting it up for the show and how that's concerned. But I really have no clue how this race is going to be run early. I had more trouble with this race from a pace standpoint than I've had with other races that we've done on this show in a long time. I know the 11 is going to want to go to the lead at 50-1, and I don't think that horse should be discounted in a race like this. I really think every horse in this race, for the most part, has a chance to win. Outside of the 11, who else did you see going to the lead in this affair?
Yeah, logically, number 9, Prado Dash, should probably show some speed. And then you got horses, just like the 11, you have 50-1. That's the 5 horse. First off, the Clean, Keep Your Chin Up. He can show some early speed. The 6, Go Doug Go, who I actually looked at for a little bit of time here in this race. He can show some speed. I think if these long shots are either hesitant or they're just, not feeling it today, because you never really know what these horses are going to do, I think the 4, Bad Student, could take advantage of either sitting, a half a length off or just taking the lead. If he realizes that, okay, all I have to do is get in front of these 5 long shots right behind me, I think the 4 can, set up from that. But other than that, I mean, not much else. Like you said, Bob, it's very confusing to draw the pace out of here. That's why I thought the 4 would just take it. Julian Leparoux is a smart rider. He may realize the situation in the moment, and he may take it. But Prado Dash would be the most logical speed horse out of horses that probably have a chance here.
Well, I can tell you, folks, Andrew and I did not talk about this race before we started the show, and he set it up for me perfectly. You named my selection in Bad Student, and you named exactly why I like this horse. I think this horse is versatile. I think this horse can be off of the lead if they want to go crazy early. I think this horse can take advantage and set on or near the lead if they decide to mope early. I think he's been very good the last 2 starts. Especially May 30th at this distance where he won confidently and was geared down late. Julian Leparoux is a fantastic rider at Churchill Downs. And let's face it, Andrew, let's just stop talking about him being a turf rider or just a guy at Churchill Downs. He was tremendous at Gulfstream Park. He's been tremendous at Churchill Downs. He was tremendous at Keeneland. He has turned his career around. He's one of the better jockeys right now in the United States, and it's been that way for several weeks now, or not months. I think he'll put this horse in the best situation to win. And I honestly believe that this horse, for what it's worth, is the most talented horse in the race. And if you can get $9 on this horse through the window or in your tournament, I think it's a steal.
Without a doubt, Bob. And, when I saw the 7, I saw the morning line odds, I immediately drew myself to the 4 as what I thought should have been the favorite. I think he's just a more talented horse. In my opinion, Julian Leparoux is just in another league compared to Channing Hill, although Channing Hill has been here at the circuit for a while. I think Leparoux just has so much more talented. He rides so many better horses. And like you said, if number 4, Bad Student, takes advantage of what we just confirmed, and nobody really knows who wants to go out to the lead, and these long shots are just walking up front, I think Leparoux is going to know the situation right away, and he's going to be the horse that's going to be in front turning for home. And unless everybody else, this cheap group, wants to start passing horses, we'll see. But I think number 4 is going to be in a great spot early. That was actually my second pick, because I love Julian Leparoux. I just wanted to find some more price in such a big field, but definitely not a horse to leave off.
I think this race is going to be determined early. If they do go slow early and the 4 breaks poorly, and we know where the 7 is going to be, obviously trying to overcome traffic trouble. You're not talking about the greatest horses in the world. You could be looking at a price. But if the 4 breaks squarely and can get position that it wants to be in, whether it's on the lead or near the lead, depending on how fast they run that first quarter, I think that's where this race is going to be determined. Because if the 4 has a chance to win the race turning for home without dealing with adversity, I think the 4 might win this race going away.
Yeah, without a doubt, he's proven himself at the distance. Like, he rallied a little bit last time. He was 3 wide in a 6.5 furlong event, so the stretch out back to 7 will be appreciated. So I think a lot of signs are pointing here, Bob, to your 4 and my 8. Hopefully we can catch a nice little exact out of 2 horses that may be in the same spot.
I think that they both are the best horses that are going to be near or on the lead. So I like that. And if the 7's good enough to come catch us, which he may be, then so be it, at a very short price, probably going wider than any other horse in the top 3 or 4. So Andrew is on the 8 horse at 8-1. I'm on the 4 horse at 7-2. And let's move to our favorite racetrack, Andrew. It is beautiful Belmont Park. And we will start things off with race 8 on the card. And I'll tell you, we've done a lot of hard races on this show, whether it's because they're not very good and you're trying to find the best of the best of the worst group, or you're talking about really good horse races. This one matches up with that Belmont Stakes card that day just because there's so many horses that are running at the same level with big-time trainers, big-time jockeys. It's Belmont Race 8 on the card. It's $100,000 Perfect Sting Stakes. It's 1 mile on the turf for fillies and mares, 4-year-olds and up. It's a field of 11, and Onus, the 8 horse, is your 5-2 morning line favorite, second off the layoff for Shug, Jose Ortiz aboard. Andrew, look, that horse's last effort was very good off the layoff, and I give the horse a ton of credit. I just think that's a really short price on a horse that has never shown that type of talent other than that race. And we've seen horses many times like this before run a race that's unexpected, whether it's from time form, thoroughgraph, DRF, and then the next time out at a short price, bomb. If he wins, kudos to him, but that horse is too small of a price for me to take a shot.
Bob, you took the words right out of my mouth. I have the ultimate respect for this horse. I'm pretty sure I had that horse singled in my pick 5 sequence that day. You know, the horse is very talented, but I'm not going to endorse 5-2 on a horse, you know, in this field who go back, you know, his grade 2 and grade 3 efforts. His grade 2 was not that good. You know, he did win the Commonwealth Oaks at Laurel Park, but I'm just not willing to endorse it. When I looked at the form before the odds, I said, okay, this horse is going to be a factor. You know, he could upset some horses, but I'm not going to take him at 5-2. I'm going to find a price elsewhere. To be honest, you know, in this type of field, you know, in the pick 4 sequence where I think we have a very logical single later in the card, I may just hit the all button in this race and hope that, you know, we get something big to spice up our favorite later on. With that being said, going for a price here, I look to number 11, Miss Ella. This horse was the beaten favorite 2 back in the Giants Causeway at Keeneland off a 6-month layoff. Horse went 6 wide, finished the game 5th, only 2 lengths off the winner. The second place horse that day, Cactus Chris, goes on to win a grade 3 race at Woodbine. But the race I'm most focused on is the one last out. And that's the Intercontinental. That's a Thursday before the Belmont Stakes. First time over the Belmont course, a very, very game third over behind Zendaya, who is a Chad Brown horse that we should probably hear a lot of coming up at Saratoga, who has won the Intercontinental 2 years straight. And I've seen this move too often, where Graham Motion has a sneaky horse that's kind of been in and out of form. He brings Drayden Van Dyke from across the country to ride him, and they win the race at a huge, huge price. You know, Miss Temple City, he also had one back at Belmont 2 months ago. So I'm just hoping, you know what I've seen so many times keeps on rolling for me, and I can get this horse at 12-1, sitting right off the pace.
Andrew on the 11, Miss Ella 12-1, Graham Motion, Drayden Van Dyke, all good points. A lot of talent in here, as I mentioned before I give my selection, so I'm certainly interested in hearing your thoughts on Neck of the Moon first. This horse is third off the layoff for none other than Chad Brown, ridden by none other than Irad Ortiz. We don't need to go into that story again. Obviously, the book says this might be the horse to beat, as hot as Chad is, third off the layoff with his #1 jockey. Your thoughts on the progression of this horse, not only early this year, but last year. Is his form good enough to win this race? You think he warrants 4-1?
Yeah, I think this horse is in great form, and last time out caught a yielding turf course, and actually the race wasn't that bad, but I don't think he really wanted to dig in any further. 2 back, he loses to Stormy Victoria, who honestly I thought would be the favorite in this race. But the thing that scared me, he's 1 for 10 at Belmont. Now, I know he's in the money 8 times out of 10, but looking for a winner here, I don't think you're going to sniff 4 to 1. I think this horse is 5 to 2, 2 to 1 written all over it. So that's why I had to go get a bigger price. But nonetheless, I mean, leave this horse off your tickets at your own risk, because this horse is definitely good enough to win this race.
Exotics, window wagering, I get it. Tournament play, considering the price.
Yeah.
And like you mentioned, 1 for 10, Andrew, you just can't take this horse. Let's go to the 7, a horse that I almost pulled the trigger on when it came to my tournament play, and that is Mississippi Delta. Mark Casse, I know, cold at Belmont, but Junior Alvarado, who's not cold at Belmont.
Yep.
This horse has a ton of class. Lost to Lexi Liu May 29th at Woodbine. The fact of the matter is she faces anybody else that day, she's most likely the winner. If you go back to April 2nd at the Honey Fox at Gulfstream Park, loses to Celestine by a neck. Celestine's done nothing but went on and been spectacular ever since. A lot of class here. I think could set a decent trip if it doesn't get caught up in a pace dispute between the 4 and the 6 early. How big of a shot do you give Mississippi Delta to win this race?
Mississippi Delta was my pick in that race I just spoke about with Miss Ella, that Intercontinental race where this horse finished 6th behind Zendaya. I thought that horse got a very awkward trip. Jose Lezcano, he's that guy for me where, I play him, he doesn't do too much. I don't play him, he beats me by 8 lengths. So I love the jockey switch here to Junior Alvarado. And Mississippi Delta is a very, very talented horse. Lexi Liu has done nothing wrong in her career, so that loss, off a month and a half layoff there is nothing to be ashamed of. And I think this horse is definitely the one, probably my second pick if I wasn't going to choose Miss Ella, because I like this horse the last race, and I'd be willing to give her another shot.
Let's go right to the inside. The 6-horse My Sweet Girl. Craig Milkowski and the Timeform guys are a big fan of her. They got 4 check marks beside her. Looks like she got a lot of speed. I mean, my goodness, that race at Monmouth was as fast as you could get at a mile. Didn't show that type of speed April 2nd at Gulfstream, but I still think this horse is going to be on or near the lead. I don't like her as much as Timeform. I think she will be a pace presence to set it up for something off of it. Your thoughts on My Sweet Girl at 20 to 1?
I've been watching, Belmont, obviously, every day of the meet so far, and it just seems that more and more horses are shipping up from places like Monmouth, Parks, Laurel, Delaware, that post lightning fast fractions, and they do very good in the races. I know this horse finished 4th, but still was a very nice race with the speed she posted. But they're coming to Belmont, they're doing nothing. There was a horse in the 2nd race today that, same thing, got bet down, wasn't doing anything. There was a horse in the 5th race, I can't remember the name, this past Sunday. The 6-horse Winter Springs, I believe, great horse in the Mid-Atlantic circuit, came here, flattened out, did nothing. So I don't trust any of these, these Monmouth numbers, lower numbers, until something really comes out of that. I know the horse has some past form here on the New York circuit, but I'm just going to have to cross this one out. On the lead, sure, but I don't think this one's a big threat.
Last horse I want to ask you about before I give you my top selection, and that is the 2-horse Stormy Victoria, 3rd off the layoff for Christopher Clement, who's been scorching hot at Belmont Park and gets his #1 guy on there, Joel Rosario, who has turned into an elite rider again after a horrific spill that we saw at Gulfstream Park back in the winter. 3rd off the layoff, was in that same race at Woodbine, but off slow. Didn't do too much in the race except late, did turn it on. What are your thoughts on this horse's chances to win the race, and where do you see this horse sitting from a pace standpoint?
Yeah, when I did my morning line odds, this horse was the 3 to 1 favorite for me, so I didn't see Onus at 5 to 2. I think this horse could very easily win this race and with ease if her real talent is displayed. She had a lot of great races in France, and the first time North American, April 29th, was nothing but impressive coming off the pace. But these 2 North American starts, like you said, Bob, off slow, brushing the gate. And I think if that happens today, I just don't see a pace meltdown. Now, speed hasn't really been holding on the Belmont turf course regardless, but, I mean, I just don't know what she's going to run down. So I would have to imagine Joel Rosario, who has been probably, besides Jose Ortiz, is probably the hottest guy on the New York jockey circuit right now. I would imagine he puts this horse in a closer position, maybe, 11 lengths off. Obviously, that's when they broke slow, but just mid-pack maybe. I don't think this horse wants to be trailing for long at all.
Yeah, if she's going to be coming from the clouds, drawing the 2 post, I don't care if it's the outer at Belmont or not, Andrew, that is certainly going to put her up against, and she's going to have to get a lot of racing luck. I do think that there's talent here, and if Clement can fix the gate issues, she is a major player. But I just couldn't take this horse at 5-1, considering what I think could be her running style. Now to my horse. I've been a big fan of this horse all winter long. I think the 3 firm turf course efforts that she has put forth have been as good as any horse in this field, and that is the 5 horse, Tammy the Torpedo. Andrew, if you look at this horse's effort on February 6th down at Gulfstream Park, going 2 turns, outside of Catch a Glimpse and Heart to Heart, going 2 turns down there, I thought this was the best effort of 2016 in the winter meet. I think she's going to get a pace to run into today. I don't think it'll necessarily be a pace meltdown, but I think it's going to be fast enough for her to be able to come off of it. Last time, April 2nd, she was pace compromised. I understand Mississippi Delta ran in front of her that day, but she just had no pace to run into. I had Celestine that day because I didn't see any pace in front of her. She needs some sort of pace, and I think she's going to get it today. I think this horse is ultra talented, and when you add Chad Brown and you add Javier Castellano to the mix, that makes this horse even more enticing. Unfortunately, I won't sniff 6-1 because Chad Brown is bet with everything he puts on the turf course. But she's got the best jockey. She's got the best trainer. She's got a good enough to pace to run into, and she's going to get a firm turf course on Saturday. And as you mentioned, this turf course as of late has not been helping speed. I think this is the most talented horse in the race, and I think she's going to win it.
Without a doubt, and of the 2 Chad Brown horses, this is the one that I liked more. I think this horse is just, keeping so much better company. You get Chad Brown, you get Javier Castellano. This horse is coming out of Grade 2, Grade 3, Celestine. This horse used to be running entry mates with Lady Eli back in the day, so I think that just goes to show how much respect Chad Brown has had for this horse from the beginning. So hopefully you get a little bit, or you at least stay at 6-1 with the addition of what people may think is a better Chad Brown horse with Irad Ortiz on the outside there. But between the 2, I got to give the nod to this one. I even think this one may be a little bit closer to the pace, Bob.
As far as class is concerned, Andrew, and this is the part where I think this horse is going to be bet as well. She's been facing, as you mentioned, Celestine. She's been facing other graded stakes horses at the best meet in the country in the wintertime. As far as the odds are concerned, where do you think that she's going to go off at? Certainly not 6-1. Would I be lucky enough to get 4-1 out of this horse before they go out of the gate?
I'll be honest, I think so, because I think Mississippi Delta is going to take some more money. I truly think Stormy Victoria is going to go off, if anything, not the favorite, then definitely the second choice. The neck of the moon is going to take some money. Onus is going to stay right there. So I wouldn't think it's too crazy to see 4-1 on that horse.
As far as where she's going to be on the racetrack, how far do you think she's going to be off the lead? Is she going to have to overcome some traffic trouble? And honestly, do you think she's good enough to overcome traffic trouble if she is in the back?
She's proven to get out of traffic trouble in that Gulfstream Park race December 19th. I watched the replay there, as well as the allowance race ran over this turf course back on October 18th of 2015. I honestly think she's sitting right off. She's stalking right there off the pace. I don't think Javier's going to have her in a bad spot, covered up or anything like that. Bob, I don't know how far you see her off, but I see her right there.
I had her about 3 or 4 lengths off the lead.
Yeah.
Timeform's got her in the back. I don't want her that far back. No. And Javier is aggressive, and he's the smartest jockey that I've ever seen in this business. He ought to know that she can set, third flight right off the 4, 6, and maybe the 7 would get caught up in that speed too, and that would be fine by me. But at the end of the day, Andrew, and you can put me on the spot here, I think this will be her coming out party on Saturday. On the East Coast after the winter meet, and I think she's going to have a very good solid meet at Saratoga. I can't believe this horse is 6-1. When I saw her as an entry in this race earlier this week when I was figuring out the tournament talk lineup, I thought for sure she'd be the favorite. I think she's an outstanding turf horse, and I think today or Saturday will be the beginning of something very nice for this horse throughout the summer.
Yeah, and I agree. I think, these last couple of weeks at Belmont Park, especially going into this July 4th festival, and then the Stars and Stripes Festival next weekend. I think we're going to see a lot of top Chad Brown horses, top Todd Pletcher horses that are getting that one last race to prep them for some big races at Saratoga, and I think this is one of them included.
Andrew with a very nice pick at double-digit odds, the 11-horse Miss Ella, 12-1 morning line. Again, Grand Motion bringing in his guy, Drayden Van Dyke. And I am sticking with the best turf trainer in the country, maybe the world, Chad Brown, Javier Castellano, Tammy the Torpedo, the 5-horse, at 6-1 morning line. Certainly not least, but the last race of Tournament Talk for Friday, July 1st, is Belmont Race 9. It's the Grade 1 Mother Goose. It's a mile and 16th on the dirt for 3-year-old fillies. Andrew, it's a field of 7, and no surprise here, the 6-horse Rachel's Valentina is your 9-5 morning line favorite. I'll save my thoughts for her after you give me your thoughts and your selection.
Yeah, I mean, you know, Bob, I shot a tweet your way when the entries first came out, and I was just so surprised at how many talented young fillies we're going to see lined up here in the Mother Goose. I think it's going to be a terrific race, one for the ages, and definitely going to be a great race to see where these horses are going forward. With that being said, we look at Rachel's Valentina. How can you discredit what she's done so far when she's won races? And with that being said, I'll go right into it. Rachel's Valentina is my pick. I don't think anybody's touching her today. Simply the one to beat. And, I mean, if you excuse her Kentucky Oaks trip where she was 5 wide without a lane, breaking from the way outside, I'll throw that out. I'll look at her next 4 races where she's done very well. Could have won the Ashland if it wasn't for that big Weep No More price there. I think the time off is really going to benefit her. Todd Pletcher does very well when he waits, especially with fillies, 3-year-old fillies. You know, sometimes he lets the colts go a little longer and they come back and they bounce at short odds, but it seems that the fillies he's really got going there. I think, you know, she's going to show the world she's a different horse today, you know, than what she's shown in the last couple races. I know she's only going 1 turn at Saratoga. Her mother obviously won this race a couple years ago, and whether the horse wins or not, I think we're going to see a new direction of Rachel's Valentina. If she doesn't win this race, I think we won't be surprised to see her cut back to the 7 furlong distance where she's won in the past. And if she proves that she can beat this field, which, honestly, I think she can, I think her best race, not winning, was that Breeders' Cup Juvenile, when she chased probably the best horse in the country right now in Songbird. So I think this horse is on the right path. I think this horse wins with ease today. And not to discredit any of the horses in here, because there are a lot of good horses. I think Rachel's Valentina just blows him out today.
You know, I looked at this card, or looked at this field, and I agree. I think there's some nice horses in here, but at the end of the day, for me, it ended up being a 2-horse race between Lewis Bay and Rachel's Valentina. And both of their last races were at Churchill Downs, May 6th in the Kentucky Oaks. So I said, well, this will be very easy for me. I don't have to watch 3 or 4 different videos. I can just watch that race and watch those 2 horses. So I watched the race twice. Lewis Bay took a lot of money that day. Andrew went off at 5-1, but with about 5 minutes to post, she was much shorter price than 5-1, if I do recall correctly. I watched her trip first, and Irad Ortiz gave that horse one of the better rides that he's given a horse all year long outside of Creator. She saved all the ground when they turned for home. She's skimming the rail, and she had nothing for Catherine Sophia. Now, look, I think Catherine Sophia, despite what happened to her on Belmont Stakes Day, is the 2nd best filly in the country. Now, obviously, that's up for debate, but I'm not criticizing her for losing to Catherine Sophia. But what I am criticizing her for is not running second, and running second with authority, and losing to a horse named Landover Sea, who's done nothing since that race and really just got a bunch of credit because she was finishing second to Songbird out west during the winter. Then I went back to Rachel's Valentina's race, which is the same one. And as you mentioned, she's wide all the way around the racetrack. Was I disappointed that she didn't show more effort down the lane? I am. But maybe she just needed that freshening. And 57 days for Todd Pletcher with Johnny Velasquez aboard is just stealing candy sometimes. And I think that this horse is much the horse to beat, and she will win the race. Now, I'm not as big of a fan of her as others have been. Maybe you. I don't want to put you in that category. I think she's gotten a lot of publicity because Rachel Alexandra's her mother, Bernardini's her father. She has not lived up to expectation, but there's no Songbird in this race. There's no Catherine Sophia in this race. There's no Karina Mia in this race. And I just think she wins by default. And Lewis Bay proved to me that she's not as good as what others thought that last race. They're going the same distance this time out. Or no, they're going a mile and 16th this time out, which is a little bit shorter. But nevertheless, Rachel's Valentina is the best horse. She gets one more chance for me. She should win this race, and she should win it with authority. And now it's up to her.
Yeah, and I agree. I think every point we just listed on number 6, Rachel's Valentina, just backs up the fact that she really is a freak of nature. She should really prove that once again today. Going into some other horses, Lewis Bay. As big a fan as I am of Rachel's Valentina, I had to take Lewis Bay at a price on Kentucky Oaks Day. Now, when she was 5 minutes before post, like you said, Bob, 3-1, I wasn't on Lewis Bay. I thought that price was crazy, and like you said, it looks like Irad just got a little bit lazy at the end because he clearly had second place with this horse and let a driving Landover Sea come and take it from him. But, this horse is a gazelle race. It was very sharp. The Devona Dale behind 7-length winner Catherine Sophia, like you said. So Lewis Bay is definitely a great horse. I just think she's up against it today with the sure power of Rachel's Valentina. But I think eventually after this race we should see some separation between the two, or at least it's what you think Chad Brown would do. And Lewis Bay could turn out to be a very good filly come the Saratoga meet. But do you see anybody else between those two? If you had a horse, if you had the key, a straight trifecta, Valentina over Lewis Bay, and you had to give someone else to close out that chalky try, who would you give?
Mom's on Strike, the 3-horse at a price. I know the horse, certainly outclassed, ran in the Black Hat Susans, went 4 wide. I guess you can make a case that she did finish the race strong. Obviously Off the Tracks is the other logical horse, but I'm sorry, I'm not going to key those 2 horses with a 3-1 shot. I just wouldn't bet the race. Maybe Mom's on Strike. Kendrick Carmouche has seemed to be turning things around the last week or so. I have ultra respect for Sharp. The only thing you can hope is that, possibly the 2-horse goes after the 6 a little bit, but you kind of find that hard to believe considering Todd Pletcher trains the 2 and he also trains the 6, and I think those 2 are the 2 fastest horses in the race. So at the end of the day, I just think it's going to run 6, 5, and you hope the 3-horse runs in there try for third. But to be honest with you, Andrew, if I could avoid this race from a tournament play, I would, and I'm certainly going to avoid it at the window. I'm just going to sit back and enjoy the holiday weekend when it comes to this race and root for the 6-horse because I want Rachel's Valentina to be good. It's good for our sport. It would be good to add a 3rd horse to that mix because, as you said, you can bring up excuses for her other losses, and hopefully they are just excuses because we need this horse to be good because our fillies are already loaded. This one would even add to that mix.
Yeah, without a doubt. And for, like you said, just great for the sport. Like you said, so many people coming into it, they want to see a story like this where, the mother wins and, the daughter wins. It's such a good thing for the sport, and this horse could really turn out to be a great superstar, just like her mother. You said Mom's on Strike. I think that horse actually is just sent out to the lead by Kendrick Carmouche, and he says, catch me if you can, before eventually fading and getting beat, 6 lengths or something like that. But that's what I think out of Mom's on Strike. I can just see that coming out of Kendrick Carmouche after flashing some early speed. But other than that, I don't think the horse can win it any all. So I would imagine that Lewis Bay and Rachel's Valentina come catch her, and she winds up finishing 3rd.
Makes sense. Well, Andrew and I are both on Rachel's Valentina, as we are certainly rooting for what could potentially be a big-time horse in the fall and winter. So that's going to do it for this edition of Tournament Talk on the Tournament Edge. Enjoy your July 4th, and I hope that Andrew and I have found you a ton of winners. And until next time, and as always, good luck.
Have a great weekend, guys. Good luck.